Hello, Peter.
Hi there.
You're an absolute star.
Thanks,
Just
Janet.
saying.
I don't think I am, but thank you.
So look, it must be 20 years ago now. I had been in a domestic violence refuge. Nothing to do with the father, a subsequent relationship. And there was a young girl that was there, a bit of a rough diamond, and she befriended all the young people in the refuge. We then left, unbeknownst to me. She kept contact with my daughter. She then went missing, and we contacted the local police, and it's all a bit of a blur, because when your child goes missing, you're in a bit of a fight-flight situation.
Of course.
And we spoke to the local police. I gave them this girl's name, and they said to me, oh, well, she's a heroin-addicted prostitute tied to the Asian prostitution rings. And if they take her to Glodick, which is a place close to Oldham, part of Oldham, and there had recently been race riots there, you will never see her again. So the next 2 days were an absolute blur. The police did very little to help us. We turned detective. The houses we knocked on were unbelievable. I knocked on one house which was full of girls. I showed them the photograph. There was drug paraphernalia everywhere. And they said to me, oh my God, we saw her this morning with this girl. And we didn't realise how young she was. And if she takes her to Glodick, she took me to Glodick, and I was gang raped.
How old was your daughter at this time?
She was 14 or 15. I can't quite remember. 14 or 15. She was young.
Okay.
It was horrendous, Peter. To be honest with you, it's a bit of a blur, those whole 2 days. We had to track her down, which we did. I'm not going to go into it. There's loads and loads I could tell you. We tracked her down. We lured her through a third party to an area, and we kidnapped her back. And I believe that she was going to be taken to this area the following morning. And the point I'm making is they all knew. After that incident, I called in a local councillor who came to visit me in my home. And you know what? I can't remember his name. But I told him what had happened. I went to the refuge, and the refuge told me that they knew about this girl.
Yeah.
They knew that she had these ties, and they said, we don't want her. And the council had told them that if they didn't accept her, they would withdraw their funding.
What do you know about what happened to your daughter when she was away from you?
Right. I thank God this girl kept her. It was on the Monday night that we got her back. And the following morning, I know that, my daughter's now told me that she was waiting to collect her gyro from the post office in Ashton Underline. So that day she was going to take her to Glodick. She had taken her to various places where they were taking heroin and drinking, and for a year she said to me, no, this girl, she's looking after me. She wouldn't allow me to take these things. But we know that she was going to take her to this area. And as she's grown older, she's now realised that that's what was going on. It was grooming.
She had a really lucky escape, Janet, from what?
Very, very lucky escape.
How do you feel about that time, and how do you feel about the fact, I mean, you talked about you were turning detective there. The police clearly weren't doing nearly enough. What was their attitude? What did they say to you when you said, hold on a second, find my daughter?
It was quite blasé. She was a young girl. And all I can tell you, Peter, is her father and I went to the police station, and they said, When I mentioned this girl's name, her. Oh yeah, she's a heroin taking.
So they knew they knew about the girl who was involved with your daughter, who was taking your 14, 15-year-old daughter to an area where you knew that she would be brought into this horrendous life.
Yes, Peter, I walked that area. We knocked on doors. I went alone as 20 years ago, a 40-year-old woman. I walked that area. I had young Asian lads, and I really am not racist, whatever anybody says, but I had, it was a predominantly, it was an almost entirely Asian area, and I had young Asian lads coming up next to me in cars, slowing down and looking me up and down, and there was I was walking around. I didn't care. I did not care. I was looking for my daughter. I was absolutely panic-stricken. And I walked into a local shop showing this photograph, and a guy came to me. The guy, I don't know whether he worked there or he owned it, and he said to me, please, come back at 4 o'clock, go away and come back at 4 o'clock when I'm not on shift, and I will make sure that you are safe in my area.
Wow, okay. Well, that sounds like a good soul. I mean, there were so many girls that you encountered, even in that short space of time.
When I was in the refuge, there were a couple of young girls there that would go out and they would come back in taxis late at night. And there was one of them, and I said to her, my darling, and the following day, are you all right? And she was so down and so upset. And I said to her, I don't know what you're doing, but you can talk to me. This was going on 20 years ago, Peter, and they knew about it.
So when you see now, Janet, just finally, when you see now that we know this is still going on, we know that things can be done. We know you saw the problem then. The police knew what the problem was then, and this is still going on 2 decades later. And there are many young girls, 14, 15 years old, like your daughter, who the most horrendous things are happening to. I mean, what goes through your head when you think of them today?
It makes me really angry. There is something wrong in our society, Peter. We've kind of fractured everything, and I don't have the time to go into it. The way we've fractured our society, and we've fractured families, and the authorities they're just kind of on another planet. They either don't want to see it or they don't see it. It's one or the other. Well, I think they do see it.
Janet, I just want to say thank you for telling me your story. Also, you know, we haven't dwelt on it's none of my business why you were in that domestic abuse shelter, but you clearly, personally, have been through a lot, and you're a mother who quite literally fought for her daughter, and I hope your daughter, I know she now sees what could have happened, but I just want you to take a little bow yourself and to remember that I know that happened a while ago, but the kind of parenting, the kind of responsibility, the kind of courage that you showed is what so many people need to show and do not show. So thank you for speaking to me today, Janet.